Hello, hello. Oh, baby! Thank you!
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Now wait for the
Get that shit, bitch. Your number. I want to get demonetized because we just lost. Yeah, we can't sing those songs, can we? We just have to pay like.
monetized.
Do we have to pay like $25,000 now for that 15-second? Anyway, this is a completely inappropriate podcast, everybody. Hi, how you doing? I'm Anthony, along with Mr.
Frank.
And today we have another wonderful guest. In a similar realm, because she happens to be a friend of our former guest, Laura of the Rose. This is our friend, Miss Dana. Dana, how would you like to be referred to as? Would you? Well, I'll let you introduce yourself. Let people know who you are, where you're from, what you do, and what we're going to talk about a little bit today.
Okay, yeah. So my name's Dana Wild, and I am a crystal keeper. I am the owner of Crystal Keepers Apothecary. And I think, is that it?
Yeah, and we're here to talk about crystals, pretty much, right?
Yeah, we're here to talk about crystals.
Yeah, I want to know about your journey with crystals, how you got into it, how you were first introduced to it. What do you love most about your interaction with crystals? I know you liked. I was reading a bit of your bio saying how when people ask you what do crystals do, you're like, well, did you ask them? So I'm really curious as to what you mean by that, and if you can get more into detail of some base level introductory kind of stuff for us here, and then we'll get a little bit more into who you are and the more personal aspect of it.
Fun. I love that question. So okay, to start, my relationship with crystals started when I was a very little girl. My whole life, I've been walking around staring at the ground or finding rocks and breaking them open, trying to get to whatever's on the inside.
Yeah.
They just have always called me. I remember being, I don't know, quite young, maybe like 4 or 5, just spending hours out in my grandparents' driveway because they had a gravel driveway with some silica stones, in there. And I'd just be out there for hours, picking them up and putting them in my pockets. And then finally, my grandmother.
So real quick, describe silica for us.
Yeah, silica is like a foundation for quartz.
So it's got very crystalline, like a shine to it.
Like yeah, it can like jaspers are silica, agate is a silica, marble is going to have silica, silica's in just about everything. I mean, our bodies are made up of a large percentage of silica too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like a foundation for life.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off and go on a tangent there. Well, so go ahead, continue.
I was just saying my grandma Linda, love her. She was so supportive of me, and she would take me to like crystal shops and started getting me crystals. So when I was 8 years old, she got me, I can't remember if it was for my birthday or Christmas, but my first like wooden case with a glass top that was filled with beautiful stones that she had selected for me. And oh my gosh, I still have those stones, and they're some of my, my personal treasures. Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
Then, it just goes on from there.
Yeah. No, well, I'm curious. So from collecting at that age, at that early age, so you what were the prices like then compared to now? Because now you see the prices of crystals are just skyrocketing right now. Seems like the more we need to calm and focus our energies in this state, in this United States we live in, it seems more people are looking for ways to mediate that, to mitigate it. So, and a lot of people are searching for crystals and yoga and paying attention to their chakras a little bit more. Reiki. I know you're a Reiki healer as well.
I'm a Reiki practitioner and an advanced theta healing practitioner. I'm also a Kundalini yoga teacher. I have training in something called symmetry breath. And then, those are basically just kind of shingles, you can put on a wall. They're like credentials, if you will.
Of
But I have
course.
been, yeah, I've been an energy worker, my entire life. And so I I have my own way of practicing. I often will refer to it as a blue light. I'm like a blue light crystal keeper. So
Oh,
I work
now
with,
I did see that on your bio as well, that you were a blue light energy a
yeah,
special
a blue light
what,
energy worker.
so is that
Because
your own title that you came up with, or is that pulling from something else, or what is that
so
exactly?
I see blue lights. I've seen them my whole life. Like especially in moments of like understanding or realization, or when I'm unsure of a certain path to go on, when I direct myself in the direction that is feels like I'm truly in alignment with, I'll see these blue lights. And then I've had a very dear friend one time when I was 19. His name is Josiah. I was over at his house for making music, and he said to me, whenever you come to my house, I see these blue lights everywhere.
Hmm.
And then, just I've had different really beautiful experiences. And
Now,
this gets into like a whole nother area of how expansive are we willing to believe, think, and feel. But
sure. No, and I'd love to
like
get into that too. But
yeah.
we're going off on a lot of quick
Yeah,
tangents
yeah,
here,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I knew was going to happen after I read your bio and saw. Yeah. So just a quick list of what was written down. It's fine arts, Usui Reiki, all love Reiki, blue light energy, guided meditation, theta healing, crystal work, and just general teaching at I guess Kundalini teaching is what was that
So
last?
Kundalini is my most recent training. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
saw
was
that. Now, unfortunately, we had a really good guest on a couple weeks ago, but we had a miscommunication of sorts with her, and she wasn't comfortable with us um, posting the interview. However, it was dealing a lot with the divine feminine
oh,
because she's a yogi student with me with my vinyasa practice based out of Austin. I'm a 200-hour certified teacher now recently. Yay. Like you said, doesn't really mean it's a certificate, but it's
yeah,
good to know that you've learned something. Anyway, I digress.
yeah.
So we spoke on the Dance of the Dissident Daughter. Are you
Mm,
familiar with this book at all? By Sue
I'm
Monk
not.
Kidd. Oh, I highly recommend it. So it's a story of a woman who went from being a youth pastor, um, entrenched within the Christian community and zeitgeist, and coming to her own realization about how patriarchal the Bible was used, whether it was intended or not. It's been used in a very patriarchal way. The words, and the way that it's written. And so she comes to understand more and more about the divine feminine and the beauty of um, the strength of being feminine and being a female, and having a woman's strength, or that. And I've it spoke to me a lot because it harkens back to the femininity, the parts of me that I always felt were feminine, the parts that, this environment that I grew up in this Hispanic community, this machismo community, where people would look at certain things I do, like yoga, like um, like I took dance class instead of playing football with the kids in high school. You know what I mean? Like, well, my to me it was just, well, I'd rather dance with the girls than go jump on a pigskin all sweaty with a bunch of guys, right? That was my thinking. But everybody around me was like, oh, well, maybe he's a little soft, maybe he's a little feminine. And reading this book, it made me realize, obviously, how much women have to go through, um, just to feel at peace and find strength within their femininity in a world that's so masculine. But then it allowed me to realize that we need that femininity in all of us. And it all harkens back to the yin yang for me. Like, you can't have the masculine without the feminine. You can't have the powerful without the meek. There's always a balance, light and dark. And so that's my understanding of the divine feminine. I'm sorry. I guess I had a lot to get out there. Excuse me. Because like I said, we had this all hashed out in a whole episode that we weren't able to post. So am I somewhere in the ballpark with what you've come to understand through Kundalini? Is it a different thing altogether?
You mean about the divine feminine?
Yes.
Well, my experience in Kundalini didn't, I guess my experience there wasn't a divine feminine focus in it. I mean,
Oh,
I feel that
excuse me.
yeah.
Maybe I just got, I did some ancillary research for this. Okay. I'm just trying to keep the
Well,
conversation.
I would just say that I feel that the divine feminine is always with me and in me,
Right.
and expressing itself through me and through all that is, and that the divine, like we all have divinity within us, and that is going to come forth through us in the way that is ours to express and manifest.
Absolutely. So that, and that, forgive me for, I feel like a fool now, just going off on the divine feminine. I probably should
No,
have
it's
touched base
fine.
with you on that first. So what has been the most fun thing you've gotten to do with all that? What has been the most joyful part of this experience with crystals in your life, and finding this path through Reiki and all these things that you've developed into yourself?
Okay. Well, first I kind of want, can I jump back a little bit?
Yes, as
And
much as
just,
you want,
I'm
because
going
I'm
to
just
jump back
rambling
and then
on
I'm going to,
otherwise.
that's okay. I'm going to, because you've asked me a few questions. I want to answer them if that's okay. The first one, the first one I want to answer is, the question about price points and crystals. And what I would say is this: I remember exactly how much some of those crystals cost because I really wanted them and had no money. I was a very little girl. So some of them were like 50 cents, some of them were $1.50, some of them were $3.50. But as a little girl, I was very focused on the table that had the crystals in the bowls that I could actually put my hands into.
Yeah.
And so, those ones, of course, are going to be at a different price point. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with sticking within those bowls. Like I said, some of those crystals are still my now most treasured little beings. But what I would say is that as you get into crystals more and more, there's different mines that have a different amount of production. They may be harder or easier to acquire, right? Like there are some crystals that I love that come out of Colombia. It's difficult for them to get them out of Colombia because these miners, not only are they out in the mountains and then bringing them down, then they have to get them past the cartels and out of the country. So, and then, you might have some pieces that are mined locally, which also might be a little bit more expensive because the production might not be as great. There might not be as many miners there. So even though it's closer, there might not be as much coming out, or maybe the amount of crystals in the mine are sparser. Like there's a mine in Washington. It's in the King Valley. It's in King County. That's what it is, King County. And it's called the Green Ridge Mine. And there's also the Purple Hope Mine. This is a favorite mine of mine right now. I really want to just shine a light on it because it's so special. It takes the miners, I think, a day to get up to the mines. And they're on these very vertical slopes at the top of the mountains. And they're encased in snow and ice year round. So I think their mining period is only 2 months of the year, and they never know what they're going to find. But there's another mine right next to the Green Ridge. It's called the Purple Hope Mine. And I think it takes a whole nother day of like rope climbing and walking on these very precarious trails to get to. And they never know what quality they're going to pull, how much they're going to pull, if they're going to find it, so, and that's just so special because it's in our area too, right? Where then you might see a lot of stones coming from Brazil where there's more production happening and you can get some of them at a better price, especially depending on the quality. So like if you're okay with dings and chips on your stones, then you'll be able to acquire them at a a lower price point. But if you are like a energy worker and it's really important to you to have a perfect point on the tip of your crystal for energy conduction, then you're going to probably be paying more money for that crystal.
Okay, now let's get into that a little bit real quick. So how do you feel about those, I wouldn't want to call them flawed crystals, right? But the less perfect, quote unquote, the fractures, the less clear ones.
So
And
this
you-
is, those
what
of
do
you at
hold
home,
up?
yeah, people can't see this because they're just going to be hearing my words, but
Well,
I have shown this.
Just so you know, we do put this on YouTube as well. I'm not sure.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
good.
if that's
Okay.
okay. I'm sorry, I should have asked you that before.
No, it's
but
okay. It's okay.
okay,
So
as long as you're okay with it.
I'm comfortable. Yeah. This crystal right here, you can see it has a lot of nicks and dings. This is a tabular crystal laser wand, and it is one of my main tools. And it is, like I said, there is not a perfect point on here. This crystal is so special to me and very powerful. So for me, so the idea that a crystal has to be perfect in order for it to be effective is neither here nor there. I think it mostly has to do with a person's beliefs too. And also, I will say this, when there is a perfect point, it is true that energy conducts very pointedly. Crystals are generators, and there's a way to use them that our world has not caught up with yet, that has to do with generating energy. We're like barely scratching the surface right now.
As you're I'm biting my tongue to try not to cut you off again and ramble on and on.
No, it's okay.
Everything you've said, I'm like, oh, and this and that, and can I ask about this and that? But then we'll never get through anything. So I'm kind of just letting you go as much as I can before I interrupt you.
So another thing I want to say too, before we move on, just because you brought up the divine feminine and this woman who wrote this book who had come from a Christian background, I was raised LDS, Mormon. My ancestry is also Mormon. And so ever since I was a little girl, I knew that I was born here to do a work. And I've understood that I am a light being, a starseed. And I think that a lot of us here are. I think that some people just aren't as tuned in with it as others, or they have different belief systems around it.
So I'm sorry, are you still a practicing, is it Latter-day Saint?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about all of this is that I call myself a cafeteria spiritualist. So because I was raised LDS, I was blessed with the opportunity to practice a lot of prayer and scripture study, which led me into studying a lot of esoteric wisdom and other scriptures from around the world. And it really fed my desire for growth and information. And so now I feel like, because I've been practicing spirituality and acquiring all these different tools and information, I feel like I'm really happy about my tool belt. Or about the food I have on my cafeteria tray.
Anybody who's been a longtime listener of the podcast knows I'm right there with you. We were here in the Valley, we're raised Catholic mostly. Frank was, I think he's also true now.
Yes, sir.
Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know what that
is. True is the way I break it down, like as simplistic as I can.
Yeah, keep it concise, Frank.
I tell people I pray to Thor, and then I get all this bullshit about, oh well, I pray to Iron Man. Like, no, stupid.
Because they boil it down to what they hear in social media, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the practice of I don't like saying Norse mythology because you can easily say Christian mythology, but it's the practice of the Norse belief, the old ways. It's a pre-Christian heathen religion, is what it is.
Got it. Yes, yeah. I am familiar. I just did not know that.
Yeah, and then
terminology. Thank you.
And then the question I was holding on to is, how do you balance your you call it a tool belt, but how do you balance what you've picked up on with crystals and spirituality and everything with your Latter-day Saints beliefs? I don't know if you still believe, but with that background, like, how do you balance it out?
Well, truth is in all things. And sometimes the truth is muddled with shit. And I think that for me, having the practice of prayer and meditation and study, I'm going to go back again to the meditation and working with my energy bodies. I feel that it has become easier for me to discern the difference between resonant energy frequency information and dissonant. And so when I'm reading and I recognize that I'm being uplifted and strengthened and that the frequency is resonant, then I continue to pursue utilizing those tools and methods. And then also in the practice of using them, you can see, are they, what is that Christian term? Are they bearing good fruit?
Exactly. That's one of my favorite terms that we get from the Bible is you will know that I forget the exact wording, but it's basically you will know the right church by its deeds. You know what I mean? You will know the false ones by their false deeds. You exactly what you said. You take what the fruit that you take from the tree what fruit it bears. I don't know. You said it so much more poignantly. I'm sorry, I stepped all over that.
That's okay. Truth is very easy. The thing about truth that I really love is that it's clear. It's clean. Truth tends to come without control or manipulation. So it doesn't take a lot of convincing when you're speaking of truth. When truth comes, it distills upon a person. Like, it doesn't have to be explained away. It doesn't have to be pushed down someone's throat.
Now, you know what? That's beautiful. Very well said. I love your explanation. Frank knows this because I'm in the same boat with you. That's what I was getting to as far as what I was saying earlier, that we were raised Catholic here, but I fell away from it based on the strictness of it, just the very obvious flaws within the structure of how it was being taught. The fact that man is the head of the house and the woman is subservient to the man, that always felt wrong to me because I grew up with a very strong mother with 4 sisters, no brothers. I was the weak one in the family. So I knew that couldn't be true just based on my personal experience. And so I was led, and same as you, because of the way that you're raised to pray and that it's incumbent on you to make a difference in this world and to bring people into light and to treat people with dignity, pride, honor, respect, all these, tenets that we should hold just as human beings, treating each other kindly and with love and with equal respect as we would want for ourselves. So it did bring me to study a bit of Buddhism about, sorry, Frank?
The technical difficulties that this will end.
Oh, we're ending in 10 minutes. Are we meeting our time limit? Well, this is great. Do you have another 40 minutes to chat with us, Dana?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, no, let's go ahead and wrap. We can go ahead and get through this last 10 minutes here, and then we'll start our next episode. That way we don't burn people out too much on
Okay. How long have we been talking?
30 minutes.
It'll be about 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But so real quick,
we didn't even really get into crystals.
Oh no, we'll do it. We'll get into it more on the next episode. So I guess what there was something I wanted to ask, and I'm spending all this time thinking.
I want to say one more thing. Control magic. When you are in a situation and someone's telling you something's true and they're trying to cram it down your throat or use shame and guilt to convince you to do something, it doesn't have to be a religion. It can be anything in your life. It's coming from a place of control, and that is dissonant. And I think I just want to point out right now that we're living in a situation like worldwide where there's a lot of control methods being implemented. And I want to express to everyone how important it is to sit in meditation and get clarity for yourself.
Absolutely. And it's wonderful that there are pockets of people and groups like yoga groups, like Crystal, like persons like you in this bubble of, whether it's you want to call it a belief or ideology or science, whatever it is, it's us finding a way to come together and to bring what's the opposite of dissidence? Resonance. Thank you. I didn't want to stumble around for the next 5 minutes.
Resonant frequency.
That's what we're looking for, guys. And
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to get this podcast to be, to something where we can bring people together to, resonate with each other in beautiful ways and just learn about each other, whether we agree with each other or believe in each other's things or not. I'm not Asatru. I'm not 100% sold on the healing power of crystals, but I love the idea and I'm willing to learn about it and maybe be convinced otherwise, because why not? I don't know what I don't know. So let's learn together.
Well, the other thing I just want to say is it's not about the healing power of crystals. It's about the person's ability to activate and heal themselves. And crystals are an excellent amplifier and really help people activate.
Oh my God, I love that. We're going to touch on that on the next episode as soon as we start. I've got that written down as a note. So thank you so much, Dana, for joining us today. Can't wait to start the next episode with you. Frank, is there any, we got a couple minutes here. Any last question?
Well, what she said was hinting at what I wanted to ask her, which I have to ask her because it's a completely inappropriate podcast. But, what she thinks about, and I'm going to ask it now so she can think about it in the intermission, what she thinks about crystal dildos.
Oh my God. I'm so proud of you, Frank. You came in with the thunder there. I apologize, Dana. We'll talk about the crassness of this next episode when we come back. Okay. So hold on to that one. Hope we didn't just scare you off. We'll see if she comes back, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your seats and tune in next time. This has been another awesome episode of the Completely Inappropriate Podcast. I have been, remember, you can find us at completelyinappropriatepodcast@gmail.com with any comments, questions, concerns, or guest recommendations. You can find us at CI Podcast on Instagram, Completely Inap with 1P on Twitter. And wherever you find us, you found us, and you get a cookie or you deserve a cookie. So go get a cookie. We're not giving it to you. You go get it yourself. Frank, what do we tell the people?
Be excellent to each other.
And try and find your happy. Try to be better today than you were yesterday. Much love to you. Dana, any last words real quick?
No, I love that. Stay well.
Bye, Frank.
Got 100 sign-offs here, Dana. Sorry.